Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
My name is Enjoli Villa. I live in the tip of Montgomery, right next to Bristol Bay. My 3 children are a part of the Yorkville School District. And what prompted me today to come was that I had an ignorant trust in the city council that, surely they did their research on why it's so critical not to have this in our community. But at yesterday's hearing, there was a question asked if anybody on the panel had done any independent research on this matter, and literally no one raised their hand. So that is very concerning. So let's go. So members of the city council and fellow residents, Thank you for the opportunity to speak this evening. I stand before you not in opposition to technology, progress, or economic growth, but in defense of careless decision-making that prioritizes convenience, speed, and outside pressure over the safety, sustainability, and future of the very community you were elected to serve. Take a breath. The decision before you regarding data centers is not merely a zoning or infrastructure question. It is a moral and generational one. Once approved, these facilities will shape our environment, our economy, and our quality of life for decades. I ask that we pause and consider these critical reasons why data centers, as currently proposed and unregulated, pose serious harm to our community. The approval of data centers is not a routine administrative matter. It is a decision with irreversible consequences for our water, our power grid, our environment, our neighborhoods, and our children. It deserves far more scrutiny than it has received. Let's chat about some of these things that most of us have chatted about tonight, so we can all learn together about the risk that this poses. First, as we mentioned, the extreme strain on water resources. Data centers consume vast quantities of water for cooling, often millions of gallons per day. This is water permanently removed from local systems, especially during heat waves and droughts when residents and farmers are already being asked to conserve. We must ask ourselves, are we prepared to prioritize corporate server cooling over drinking water, agriculture, and firefighter capacity? What happens when our wells run dry, our rivers drop, and our children are told that conservation is required, except for the large industrial servers? This is not sustainable, and it is not reversible. Second, unsustainable energy demand and grid risk. Data centers are among the most energy-intensive facilities on Earth. Their constant around-the-clock demand strains electrical grids, increases the likelihood of outages, and often prolongs dependence on fossil fuels. This raises another painful question. Excuse me. When the power goes out during extreme heat or winter storms, who will be protected first? Our residents or corporate data operations? Runny nose. Anybody got a tissue? Okay. And what will it mean for family? Oh, thank you. Can I go over there?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And what will it mean for families struggling with rising utility bills while energy is diverted to facilities that employ relatively few local people? We are not strengthening our infrastructure, we are burdening it. Third, minimal local economic benefit. Despite promises of economic growth, data centers create surprisingly very few permanent jobs once built. Most profits leave the community, while the burden on infrastructure, roads, utilities, emergency services remains with the taxpayers. We must ask, is it responsible governance to permanently alter our landscape and resources for facilities that offer limited employment and little long-term economic resilience? Are we selling our community's future too cheaply? The profits leave, the consequences stay. This is not economic development, it is resource extraction. Fourth, environmental and health impacts. Data centers bring constant industrial noise, air pollution from backup generators, increased traffic, and the risk of chemical leaks. These impacts disproportionately affect nearby neighborhoods, lowering property values and increasing health risks, which we all have talked about tonight. Council members, I ask you directly, would you want your own children living next to these facilities, listening to generators through the night, breathing the exhaust, and inheriting the consequences of our decisions today? These impacts are not evenly distributed. They fall on families who did not consent and who often have the least power to move away. No community should be asked to quietly absorb harm for the convenience of global corporations. Fifth, loss of community control and long-term flexibility. Once built, data centers are nearly impossible to remove or repurpose. They lock communities into decades-long land use decisions while technology, climate realities, and economic needs continue to evolve. So here we must ask, what happens if water becomes scarcer, energy costs rise, or climate conditions worsen? Will future councils curse our short-sightedness, wondering why we traded adaptability and resilience for short-term approval? My closing questions for reflection. Members of the council, before this is final, I urge you to ask yourselves, not as officials, but as parents, grandparents, neighbors, and stewards of the city whom you serve. How is it possible that no one, at least from yesterday that we know, has conducted serious independent research into the documented environmental infrastructure and public health impacts of data centers before moving toward approval? How have we gotten to this point? Do you understand how appalling and frightening it is to this community that decisions of this magnitude are being considered without demonstrated knowledge of their consequences? In the gentleman's slide from earlier, in the benefits to Yorkville, there was 2, maybe 3 bullet points. 1, 2, 3. Uno, dos, tres. Not one said the benefits for the community. Not one. How dangerous, guys, hey, we can't. You have to save your applause to the end, okay? How dangerous is it to hold power to permanently alter a community while failing to center the community in your decision making when protecting its well-being is your primary duty? Would you accept this level of risk, noise, pollution, and resource depletion of these facilities were proposed next to your home, as many of us have already asked? And when future residents ask who allowed this water supply to be depleted, their air quality degraded, and their infrastructure strained, will you be able to say with a proud voice that you acted in due diligence, or only that you acted quickly and merely just for profits that line a few pockets? Power without responsibility is reckless. Authority without research is dangerous. And progress without conscience is not progress at all. You were elected to protect this community, not to gamble with it. Thank you for your time. Yeah.